Every spring since 1984, we have gathered to celebrate the start of the gardening season. We have gathered to build community. We have gathered to grow together. The theme of this year's conference is Learning from the Land, Bounties of Wisdom from Community Gardens. We have organized an impressive lineup of over 130 speakers, facilitators, and experts. The day is filled with 60 workshop sessions, 4 feature panels, 20 greening partners, and much more. This free sold-out conference is welcoming more than 1,200 in-person participants and 400 virtual attendees. The time is ripe to continue learning from what community gardens and gardeners have to offer. This year also marks GreenThumb's 45th anniversary, or what has become the largest community gardening program in the country, sustaining a growing network of gardens and volunteers who are collectively caring for 100 combined acres of open space. GreenThumb takes great pride in partnering with all of you in creating a more livable city. Now, please join me in giving a warm welcome to our first Deputy Commissioner, Iris Rodriguez.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you so very much for the introduction. And I have to say that for me, it's an honor and a privilege to be here with you today. As the first Deputy Commissioner, and I work in close partnership with, of course, our very special agency commissioner, Sue Donoghue, who embraces all that is positive in what the work that you all do. So for me, I had been a borough commissioner in the borough of the Bronx, and I had met many of the gardeners in the borough of the Bronx, right? So I know that many of you are here today as well. But as the first Deputy Commissioner, I have the GreenThumb program as one of in my portfolio. So now I'm going to have the distinct pleasure of being able to visit many of you in the other boroughs, to be able to visit the gardens and to see all the many wonderful things that you all do. And for me to have you here, so when I say buenos días a todo, ¿verdad? Hello, buenos días. To say thank you, I cannot say thank you enough for all the work that you all do every single day, what you give in the many hundreds and hundreds of gardens that we have out there. The volunteer hours, the volunteer days, the volunteer members, and the individuals that give of their time. So we know that usually you have to go to work, you have to go to school. There are things that you have to do, take care of your health. There are things that you have to do. But when you volunteer and when you come out and give of your own personal time, that's something that we in the Parks Department respect and revere. And I give you all a round of applause for doing that each and every time that you come out to your gardens. And to tell you that this administration has recognized the importance of engagement with the community in so many different ways. And here with the GreenThumb program is one of those exceptional ways that you participate as individuals to give of your time and the hours that you put into your gardens. So we in this administration recognize that and respect that. And we want to encourage you to keep that growing and growing as much as you can, because through the engagement opportunities is how we educate the community and how we create stewardship throughout our parks. So I'd like to, again, to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here with you today. And I share in partnership with my commissioner, Sue Donoghue, as well. So I have the distinct pleasure of introducing her. So I'm very proud. A round of applause for our Parks Commissioner, Sue Donoghue.
Thank you, Iris, for that warm and rousing welcome. Thank you, Carlos, for this incredible day. And thank you all for being here. Good morning. I'm so thrilled to be here this morning with all of you, gardeners, greeting professionals, and everyone in between. I'm so pleased to be here to help welcome you all to the 38th annual Grow Together conference. That is quite, I know I have 38, but I think it's 39 actually we discussed. The 39th annual Grow Together conference. That's pretty extraordinary. The Grow Together conference, I don't need to tell you all, is a time-honored tradition at the Parks Department, offering a wonderful selection of gardening lectures, tutorials, workshops, and of course, so much more. This conference truly strikes at the core of our primary mission at Green Thumb, to support our volunteers' vital work, building and sustaining vibrant community gardens across the city. For decades, community gardens and the gardeners who help steward them have been an important part of the fabric of New York City. You help grow community connections. Our green spaces provide a variety of health benefits, mental and physical. And our gardens and green spaces make our city so much more accessible and more equitable for all. For nearly 45 years, Green Thumb has been an integral part of this effort. In addition to organizing today's conference, Green Thumb provides free programming citywide and material support to nearly 550 community gardens citywide. And this support is far-reaching and crucial, we know, to the ongoing success of the program. In 2022 alone, our Green Thumb team renovated, rebuilt, and expanded 21 community gardens, added 1,425 linear feet of accessible paths in 16 community gardens, and engaged thousands of New Yorkers in environmental stewardship activities. Let's hear it for Green Thumb. But as our first deputy commissioner noted, successful gardens would not be possible without you all, our dedicated volunteers who've worked so hard to maintain these valuable green spaces. With over 20,000 Green Thumb Garden members in New York City, you help to make our city's open spaces more accessible and equitable for all New Yorkers. Thank you for all your hard work and ongoing dedication to maintaining these unique spaces. Now, before I conclude and have an opportunity and privilege to introduce our keynote speaker, I will also offer a land acknowledgement on behalf of New York City Parks. It feels appropriate, and I'm in good company to do so among so many diverse and thoughtful land stewards from across the city. We here in New York City are on the historic land of the Lenape peoples. I ask you today to join me in acknowledging the multitude of diverse Lenape and Lenape nations in this region, as well as the Canarsie, the Lakawe Rockaways, the Wappinger, the Matinecock peoples, and their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. New York City Parks also acknowledges that our city was founded upon exclusions and erasures of many indigenous peoples. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to beginning the process of working to dismantle the negative ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. Thank you. Now, before I introduce our speaker, I'd like to give one final and very special shout out to all of the dedicated Green Thumb staff who have worked tirelessly to make this conference a reality, including, of course, our Assistant Commissioner for Community Outreach and Partnership Development, Karina Smith, who unfortunately couldn't be here, but has been leading the charge admirably, and then our great Director of Green Thumb, Carlos Martinez. And all of all of the Green Thumb staff who is in this room, who has worked so hard to get here and been so welcoming on this day. So thank you all for all the great and hard work. Now, without further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for today's event, Chief Vincent Mann. Chief Mann is the Turtle Clan chief of the Ramapough Lenape Nation, which encompasses Passaic County, New Jersey, Warwick, and surrounding areas in New York. He has been at the forefront of the New Jersey environmental justice movement, where he has worked to protect the water supply of 4 million people and advocated for the community living in close proximity to the Ringwood Mines Superfund site. He is also working on co-creating an organic farm known as the Muncie Three Sisters Medicinal Garden, to create local jobs and, more importantly, to bring back food sovereignty to his clan. Please help me welcome Chief Mann, and thank you all once again. Thank you so
much. Anishik ki shalo moquin. Elamilian yonquai kishquik, wa coconut aki, wak tinda, wak mbi, wak ilongo matit, wak nimbun masawakanum. Thank you, Creator, for giving us this day. We thank you for our Mother Earth. We thank you for the fire and the water. We thank you for all of our relatives. And most importantly, we thank you for our lives. Thank you to the four directions. Typically, I end a speech with a song, but I think that it's imperative that I begin it with one. And this song was shared with me by my brother Leonard Welch from the Stockbridge Muncie Reservation. I'll only sing it a couple of times, the verses, but it is thanking the Creator for making me Lenape. That simply means, you know, a human being. So, well, well, hey, 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 away. Well, hey, yo, hey. You will hey, eine Schick Manette ni Ramapough well, hey, hey, well, hey, hey, well, hey, hey, oh, way, oh, hey, yo, way, oh, yo, way, oh, hey, ah, hey, oh, way. Anishi Kishalo Mokwe. Thank you, Creator, for making me Lenape. Thank you for making me a human being where we share something together, that closeness that the animals that live in our nature, right, in the wild, that don't have. And what that is free will, right? When we're born into this world, you know, we come with our original instructions. And those original instructions that we come into this world with are love, honor, respect, wisdom, and humility. It should behoove all of us to remember that when we come into this world, we come into it with the utmost humility, just like those seeds that we plant, just like the seed that is carried by every woman, right? And when those children are born into this world, or those seeds begin to break the soil, you know, it requires us to use our free will to care, to show those plants love, to show our children love, to teach them, give them the wisdom that we gain through our experiences in life. As those children become toddlers and they begin to walk, they get to their twos and everybody is like, whew, man, right? But you know, soon those times turn into laughter and joy, right? And we begin to, you know, provide more wisdom and knowledge, and we nurture them. And sooner or later, they become young adults. And then they start to be reflections of ourselves. Again, free will, right? And eventually, when those young adults become our elders, they truly give back. I'm sitting here this morning and I'm not just thinking about our ancestors whose remains, right, in homes and villages and fields lay beneath the city of New York. But I'm also, when I sat here, I was looking at this screen and I was honored to see that you were honoring those people who are from that last generation, right, from the 30s and 40s and 50s that were dedicated to humanality, right, that remembered what it meant to be humble, to walk with humility, to share, right? That was, they were born in a time of complete chaos, right? They were born at the precipice of a Second World War that, you know, involves so many people. Most of those people that lived through those things found themselves to the harbor here, right? Before they would fan out into what we know now as the United States or Turtle Island. But I'm honored that that's shown, because one of the things that, you know, we don't hear very often is how sacred our soil is, right? We always hear about how sacred water is, right? Minnewaukee, right? Water is life. But how does that water get purified? How does that water become blessed? How does that water become so sacred? And if you follow the journey of a raindrop, right? That raindrop falls from the sky like today. Right? It lands on the trees, it comes down the bark, hits the leaves, and the leaves of the tree, you know, they go like this, right? And it falls to the earth, and then it falls down on the leaves, right, and the grass, and then goes into the soil. Anybody want to guess how sacred water becomes? Is that you have to realize that absolutely every single thing that has ever lived on this planet returns to it. That returns to the soil, right? we become the lungs of Mother Earth, Kukana'aki. That water penetrates through our ancestors' bones, not just ours, everyone's ancestors, right? Sooner rather than later, all those loved ones that we saw on there, the ones who gave their life to reminding all of you and the thousands of people who they have affected in their life, right? They're going to become a part of and have become a part of the sacredness of Kukana'aki, Mother Earth, right? Their memories will live on way beyond us, right? Just like that water holds memory, soil holds memory, those ancient trees that are protected by the city parks, right? They hold memories. They're interconnected to everything that is involved with our life, from the birds to the coyotes that are here, right? The foxes, you know, the bears, the owls, you know, the wood ducks, the worms, right? We all need each other. We all need to recognize that our natural world, that, you know, colonialism has tried to separate us from, right? 400 years ago, next year, right? We're going to mark that year next year, right? From the time that the Dutch settlers came here and began to occupy the space. And it wasn't just the Dutch, right? But they did. And so we're in a time of renewal. We're in a time where Indigenous people, that means everybody from wherever you originally come from is Indigenous. If somebody wants to say that they're African American, guess what? You're an Indigenous person, right? Your ancestors came here with beans, right? And seeds that were tucked in their hair from the islands as well, right? They took our ancestors from here and brought our ancestors to islands like the Banda Island and others, right? And so we have people that are there, just as everybody else from Africa or those islands or what we know now as Puerto Rico or Mexico or any of those places, right? And so when you hear the word indigenous, right, that is much more easier to endure, because this world that we live in likes to put labels on things, right? So if we took BIPOC and just said, you know, Indigenous people, you know, how much easier would that be, right? You know, Michaeline and I are involved with, I think it's Ujamaa, right? With Experimental Farm Seed Network, Nathan Kleiman, with Princeton University, and created a place for us to grow out seed, right? We want to offer that back. If it's not here, it needs to be created, right? Those seeds that are here, like okra, right? And others that were brought here, you know? We were gifted seeds, and we have this little story. So in the Ramapough Mountains, when we were forced to, you know, come from all the different little villages, right? Nyack and Tapan and here and Hackensack, and those of us who remained in place ended up on the top of the Ramapough Mountain. It was one of the places where it was least fertile ground. But out of that, there came a reverend, and his name was Reverend Ford. And he was preaching to our people in preparation for going around the world, right? To preach to other Indigenous people. Well, his father was already overseas, and he found out that his father was dying. So Reverend Ford decided that he was going to leave here, and he went overseas. His father died, and he took over where his father had left off, and he built a refugium for, you know, well, it wasn't a refugium at first, it was a school for boys. Over time, it became a refugium, right? Where all different cultures that had passed through that area had gone, right? Sometimes together. And so Nathan Kleiman, 2 years ago, he came to Mikey and I, and maybe that was last year, and he gave me a package of seed. And he told me the story about how he had a friend that mentioned to him that there was an incredible amount of Syrian refugees, right? And that the most important thing to them, spiritually and food-wise, was this certain lettuce. And so Nathan grew those seeds out and he sent them back. They were so grateful, right? So thankful that a human being, just a simple human, right? Somewhere out in the universe that they will probably never know, right? Had the thought about giving back, right? To another place so far away. And when I looked at that package that he gave me, I noticed it said Aleppo. All of a sudden, these bells and whistles are going off in Chief Mann's head. And the reason why that was that what Nathan told me was only half the story, right? He didn't know the other half of the story. The Syrian people, right, who were forced out of their homes because of war, didn't know the other part of the story. I do. We do. Because when Reverend Ford left here, he went to Aleppo. And he went to the high point. And standing there today is a stone building that was created as a boys' school that ended up being a refugeum, right? Imagine a little tiny New York City, right? And on the front over the door, carved in the stone. Anybody want to guess what it says there? Doesn't say Nathan Kleiman. Although it would be okay because he's an awesome human being. It says Ramapough. All the way around the world, right? So you know what's going to happen, right? So when Nathan gives us these little packages, there's a story that gets written. So the rest of the story will be told when it leaves here to go back to those human beings who have been forced from their home. That is a true story. One that I hold very dear to me. So this right here is a picture of a wonderful, beautiful sunflower, right? Michaeline and I created Muncie Three Sisters Medicinal Farm. It's in Andover, New Jersey. The reason why we created this farm, number one was just to make money, right? We are not capitalists. So you can understand the confliction, right? Right? The internal strife that we both shared. And we did this, we leased this farmland that our ancestors had utilized, right? We leased it at the same time that we were building, renovating a house that we bought for ourselves to live in. COVID hit, right? So Michaeline and I were not able to grow 9 acres of hemp, which we were hoping to grow to raise money to then support our community who does not live in close proximity to a federal Superfund site. They live in it, right? Literally. It's been listed twice, first time ever in the history of this country. As a matter of fact, at a certain point in history in the 1970s, there was a newspaper article written from New York City, I believe it was the New Yorker, that said, you see that orange glow at the nighttime skyline, right? Was the fires burning that paint sludge that threw off dioxin and all other kinds of chemicals, right? Our people have been dying of cancers and skin diseases and heart ailments and diabetes and teeth issues and eye issues and you name it. And it doesn't matter if they're a seed in our women's womb, a newborn, a stillborn, a 3-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 30-year-old with 3 children, 1 year old, her mother the following year, all of my aunts, all of our grandparents died. Now, a community that was 1,100 and something people now only occupies probably around 200 human souls there, right? And so we created this farm Again, right, we're not capitalists, but we did it to raise money so that we can hold people accountable for their actions and for their inactions, right? And so during that, COVID came, and Mikey and I, just to be reconnected to the soil, we decided to put in a garden, right? It wasn't a farm, it was a garden. And we planted that little garden so that we could reconnect to our ancestral land that we are now leasing, right? And we spent the next 7 months, 8 months, spending about $10,000 of our money that we didn't have, right? Renting U-Hauls to keep our community safe. So our community in Ringwood, we supplied them with food every week. We supplied them with masks. We supplied them with sanitizers, diapers, you name it. This is a picture of our second year at the farm. We are happy to say that we're growing about 5 miles of vegetable beds. Plus, we're growing about 3,000 to 5,000 hemp plants. So we created a CBD store so that we can actually make money, because we take those vegetables from our farm and we have free farmers market in our community, right? This year, we're actually going to be going outside of our community in Ringwood, and we're going to be going to assisted living and elderly housing in our area, because those elders, right, the ones who are supposed to be being taken care of when they become elders, right, are not. So we're going to create a space where we can actually go there and to bring them what they probably did to their elders, right? We're going to bring them fresh, clean, healthy, highly medicinal, valued food. This right here is an event that we did last year. And that's not our corn, by the way. That was one of your guys' corn. Right. But that's a ceremonial fire pit, right? Where we can stand in there and offer up our prayers to that fire with our sacred tobacco. And we offer up our prayers to the Creator for us to be able to come together and to become one with our natural environment again. On the right there is Lenny. We're making him our farm manager, right? And on the left is actually Yuri Ridgway. And Yuri Ridgway actually became, this past year, he became the chief of the Nanticoke Lenape in Bridgeton, New Jersey. We're actually going to be working with a grant from PASA for 5 years. And our part of that is going to be taking our traditional ways of growing and to bring them back to other indigenous communities. One thing that I really try to stray from, right, is the word, anybody know it begins with an O, ends in a C? If I count to 3, you all say it at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Oof. Holy. Remind me to put some spray on after that one. What is wrong with the world? I mean, I know we're in a place of learning, but I mean, come on. I refuse to use the word organic, right? Because organic is a way of co-opting our traditional indigenous people's traditional ways of growing. Call it natural way of growing, right? Call it an indigenous way of growing, because everybody is indigenous. Don't call it organic. I don't remember her name, but she was a very famous person who came from France, lived in Connecticut. And they give her the credit for using leaves and sticks and grass cuttings, right, to make raised garden, make a raised bed, But it seems to me, if I can remember correctly, that our ancestors used to make, guess what? 3 sisters mounds, right? And we understand the relationship between the corn, the beans, and the squash. Well, that relationship is inherent to everything in this world, on this planet. Everything that the Creator, when the sound of the rattle, right? That's when Keishalomokwane or the Great Spirit or, the Great Mystery brought everything into existence, right? That's why when you see a baby, right? And when a baby comes from the spirit world to this world and the baby's crying, what is the first thing? And it doesn't matter what culture you come from, right? What did people give that little baby? That little rattle. And that baby hears that sound. That's the sound of creation. Anybody want to argue with me about it? I don't think so, right? But that's why that baby, that little seed that breaks the soil, right? Reaches for the sun, reaches for anybody and everything that could love it or shelter it or provide it with water or warmth or love, right? This right here, and thank you for my 5 minutes, but in our language, we don't have a word for time, so sorry. We really don't. You guys want a good laugh. It's called, we borrow a word, and that borrowed word is clocko. That's ingenious. So this right here, you guys can hear me, right? This right here is on our farm. This right here is our traditional Muncie tobacco. And each one of those flowers, right, will grow a pod somewhere near it. That plant is a third generation. Somebody says, third generation, that's your traditional cultural plant, right? But it is. This was recovered from a rock shelter not far from Muncie Three Sisters Medicinal Farm. And it was unearthed in a pouch. It was brought to a grandma. That grandma then grew those plants, seeds out to seed. We received one of those plants. We received it not because I happen to be the buddy of the guy that might have known somebody. We received it because those grandmas said that this is where it needs to go. It needs to go to Chief Mann and Miss Mikey because we know that they're going to do the right thing with it. Those seeds were 800 years old, carbon tested, right? And so the one thing that we have as indigenous people is the closest thing that we have is our tobacco. It's the closest thing we have. It's the most sacred of sacreds. It is what we utilize to pray to the Creator for all things, for our journey here today, for our journey back, for the words that are being spoken, right? For me asking for everyone in this room's humility, right, to stay with them when they go home and to pass that on to their children. We live in a society that has tried to take away, and I mean the world, has tried to take away the sense of community. They tried to strip it away from indigenous people to break us apart. What we see now is that the world understands there's a thing called climate change. It's not climate change, it's human change, right? We put the word climate on there because there's something that's happening that we have to put a word to it so that we can understand it instead of the word fear, right? But if we just understand that everything that we see and everything that is harmful to us human beings is because of us humans, right? And so instead of living in a society of me, I, and mine, we need to revert back to we, ours, and us. I would anticipate that the city of New York is going to actually give us a part of the park over there, known as the big one. What's the name of that one? Central Park. So that we can actually have a garden there too. And my final words here. When our corn that's being gifted back to us today, can you put the slide up? I'm sorry, I know I'm running a little over. put, yes, nope, back up. Yep. See that? Every single one of you is welcome. That right there is at Muncie Three Sisters Medicinal Farm, right? It's on May 20th. We're actually going to have a ceremony. We're going to be outside. It doesn't matter if it's raining. We're going to actually plant 48,000 seeds of corn. That Puem corn has been saved and regenerated, right, by somebody who's not us, but he thinks like we do, right? He's indigenous minded, right? And so we would love, anybody is welcome, right? We're gonna have some food, we'll have ceremony. We're gonna actually get a stick, right? We're gonna make those holes, right? 48,000 times. Woo! I can't wait to watch you guys. In my closing remarks, first of all, I want to thank you all. I want to thank you for keeping the spirit of those that we've seen on this screen alive. I want you to, I'm thankful for you for keeping the spirit of humans alive, especially in a place where, for us, we drive in and it's like concrete. We can see ourselves an awful lot, right? Because of the windows, right? So yeah, I want to thank you for that. And to show you how grateful we are, us Lenape people, right? Is that in this little jar, there's thousands of tobacco seeds. Out of another jar that had millions, right? At our home. And so what I'm going to do is entrust this to someone, maybe the new female indigenous deputy commissioner. You know how she said that now she is in a role where she can not only just be in Brooklyn, that she can now go everywhere. This is to ensure that she comes, right? Because she's going to take some of these seeds and give this to everybody who is at a farm, that you can put our ancestral tobacco seeds back into the soil, even if you just have a spot and it just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows, right? This is the seed of hope, right? You guys are the seed of hope, right? And I hope that it lives on, you know, forever. I thank you again on behalf of the Ramapough Lenape Nation, the Stockbridge Muncie Band of the Mohican, the Moravian Town Muncie in Canada, Six Nations Muncie people in Canada, the Kansas Muncie in Kansas, the Muncie Delaware Nation in Canada, and all of our ancestors, right, who can tie themselves to this space. Anishi, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Mann, for sharing your powerful story, words of wisdom, as we continue to learn from the land and the histories and realities of the Lenape people. GreenThumb is committed to cultivating community and sowing change together. Please join me and give me another round of applause. Thank you. Now it's time to showcase the graphic design for the Grow Together t-shirt. Every year, we invite New Yorkers to submit a visual representation depicting the theme of the conference. As many of you know, there is no other piece of garment most desired this season. This always in style Grow Together t-shirt is worn by hundreds of proud community gardeners across the city. This year's design was created by Natasha, Osadcija. In this whimsical a magical drawing. In this whimsical and magical drawing, Natasha captures the spirit of community gardening in New York City through different symbols, including wisdom, unity, and stewardship. For her contribution to this annual tradition, please join me in giving Natasha a round of applause.
Oh, thank you, Carlos. Oh, my name is Natasha. I'm gardener and graphic designer from Latvia, and now I am 5-year-old American. I was born in Queens Botanical Garden, and now I am happily growing up in Park Department in Bronx Nursery. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with such amazing people, GreenThumb, a team, and Yelena, amazing Yelena. Thank you so much. One more thing. Thank you all from all my heart. Thank you.
In closing, I want to thank you all for taking the time to join us on this special day of learning, networking, and reconnecting with land stewards from every corner of the city. Thanks to the CUNY Grad Center for hosting us again. Thanks to the workshop facilitators, panelists, and interpreters for their time and expertise to make this an engaging, meaningful, and accessible conference. Last but not least, I want to thank the entire GreenThumb staff for supporting this conference, and a special thanks to the core team for the hard work. For months, this team has been working behind the scenes, planning, organizing, and making sure that the Grow Together tradition continues. Adder, Anthony, Elena, Mara, and Tawana, thank you so much. Again, it is my pleasure to welcome everyone to the 39th Annual Grow Together Conference. We hope that you have a wonderful time today, and we look forward to another bountiful gardening season. Thank you.